In this video I'm giving you my 5 tips to get good at Warhammer Warcry. Hello and welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm Jay and this is Top Table Gaming, and we hope you're enjoying the Warcry content that we're bringing so far. Take a look around, and if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss out. It's massively appreciated. So, Warhammer Warcry, we are all loving it. We've just had release weekend, we're all hyped, and I figured I'd share some of the things I've picked up along the way, because I'm about 30 games in now through playing and demoing at my store at release weekend, and I figured I'd share some of the tips and tricks that will help make you a better player. Make sure you watch to the end, because there's also a bonus tip for how to structure your Warcry games that you don't want to miss out. Without further ado, let's dive into it and start with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is to make sure you play the scenario, not your opponent. Now, you could say this is true for a lot of games, and it absolutely is, but one thing I found in playing Warhammer Warcry, and the game is so bloody and really encourages confrontation and fighting, it's so easy to just channel into that and go crazy, and as much as you can absolutely destroy your opponent in focusing too much on doing so, you can also lose the scenario. So definitely when you play in this game, you want to hit hard, hit fast, and focus your attacks, but also play the scenario and don't get caught up in fighting. Tip number 2 is playstyle. So one thing we've learned now, we've got access to all the card packs for the Age of Sigmar factions, and we've now got soon to be 6 warbands dedicated to Warcry. We've got 15 factions we can choose from, and one thing that's amazed me with this game is the absolute broad range of playstyles. You can go super low model and hit like a train with the Iron Jaws from Age of Sigmar. You have the Ideneth Deepkin that are the absolute glass cannons. They hit hard, but they can't really take a hit. Or even the Warcry factions like the Unmade, really utilising that 2-inch melee and controlling their opponent's move actions. Or you've got the Untamed Beast that are the fast, hard-hitting assassins. What I'm trying to say is there is a broad range of playstyles for everybody and every type of game you want to play. And with that, what you should do is really focus it into how you play games. If you like to play combat heavy, look at maybe the Iron Golems or the Untamed Beasts, or even the Cypher Lords who can act as a bit of a middle ground. If you like to play the scenario, maybe look at the Untamed Beast or Ideneth Deepkin and utilise that really fast move. Or if you want a jack of all trades, or if you want to mess with your opponent, maybe look at the Unmade. The choices are absolutely huge, and experiment and see what works for you, and look at what you use in other games and what would match the way you play games. That will really help you come on in Warcry. Tip number 3 is wait. No, not telling you to wait. Tip number 3 is actually the wait action. And I think this is something that as we've played more of this game, we've really started to utilise, which you probably can see in the back wraps we've put on the channel. Pop a link here. But the wait action I think is super strong in a game that is alternate activations and quite often 3 or 4 turns. It is huge to be able to see what your opponent's going to do. I always feel like revealing your game plan first in this game can be very costly. So if you can deploy within 3 inches of an objective and the game is objective based, you know you only need 1 action this turn. So first action, take the wait action, which means you're going to get to activate again, and you're really going to go through forcing your opponent to have to keep activating and really try and get them to show their hand in what they want to do so you can best act around that. In our early games we were not touching the wait action at all, but as we've grown and the more games I've played, it's become a solid part of my strategy. Tip number 4 is going to be warband composition. So there are a lot of things you need to consider when you're constructing your warband. The first, I think, is the amount of models that you put in there. Now, as much as the Iron Jaws and the Stormcast Eternals hit like an absolute train, sometimes they just don't have the numbers to achieve the mission at hand, and you can ultimately beat these low model, hard-hitting forces by outmaneuvering them and effectively just hiding, and that can be very frustrating. And the second thing I want to talk about in warband composition may help you combat this if you are running a lower model list. The second point here is how you break your warband up. So at the start of an event, for example, you're going to split up into dagger, hammer and shield, and that will be set for the day if you're playing in match play. Now, interesting fact, in 10 of the 12 scenarios, the shield starts on the board, which is way more than both the dagger and the hammer. So this needs some serious thought when you're putting your warband together. Some examples of this are like the Iron Jaws and Stormcast Eternals. If you're super low models, the last thing you want is some of them not arriving until round 3, and a lot of the time you can be playing 3 and 4 round games, and that is catastrophic. Also, you're going to want to get your big hitters into the fight in these low round games. So an Ogre Breacher, for example, in a 3 round game, he's only getting 6 actions in the entire round. Aside from abilities like Rampage and such, you've got 6 core actions in that game. It is an absolute heartbreak when he spends 5 of those moving to get hold of a foe and do what he does, which is wreck face. So when you're building your warband composition, maybe look at your slow models or your key models, or get as much of it as you can into the shield to maximise how much you're going to get done on the table. Tip number 5 is the most important of all, and that is, as always, make sure you're having fun. Make sure you use the toys you want to use, don't worry about the meta list and what's good, and whether you're playing match play down at your store, you're playing a campaign with friends, or anything in between, make sure you're enjoying it. This is a great game with tons of hidden depth that literally has something for everyone, and the most important thing is that you enjoy your games. Now, I did say I'd give you a bonus tip, and this won't really help you in playing Warcry, but I think it will improve your gaming experience. The battle plan cards. So the first thing I would recommend, if I'm being honest after playing lots and lots of games, is get rid of the non-match play battle plan cards. Now that might seem a bit knee-jerk, but I promise you it's not. But some of them, because you've got 4 decks of 36 cards, some of the combos are just insane. We've had more than one game that on deployment or at the end of turn 1, it's very clear the other opponent, no matter how well they play, just can't win because they can't reach the model they need to kill with the amount of actions and amount of turns left or things like that. It just doesn't make a great experience. If you go to just the match play cards, it still leaves your deployment, terrain and scenario decks at 18 cards each, so I think the possibilities are still in the millions, and it's still going to be super rare that you get the same set of battle plans twice. But what it is going to do is really enhance your experience, because these have been designed for fair play, which, although it's going to be, of course it's going to make it more balanced for match play and tournaments, but it's also going to make it more fun for all, because you're always playing on an even keel, and I think that's super important. So if I can give you one bit of advice, strip your battle plan decks back to match play. Alright guys, so there you have it. Those are my 5 things that are going to help you improve in Warhammer Warcry. And if you're hungry for more Warcry content, make sure you check out the playlist on the channel where we've got unboxings, battle reports and soon to be warband reviews. We are going to try and become a hub for this game because we are loving it, and we're of course going to make sure we share it with you all. If you want to get more involved and chat to me and the guys, make sure you head over to Facebook and join the Top Table Gaming community group, which is a great little hub for like-minded people. It's great fun over there, go and check it out. And if you want to help the channel, comment on the video below and make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss out on future content. As always, I've been Jay, you are watching Top Table Gaming, and we're going to see you in the next video. Take care.